The large meeting room fell silent as the doors slid open. Captain June Kim stood tall, his Blue Earth Diplomatic Corps uniform crisp and perfect. Behind him, 5 human crew members formed a neat line. Their faces showed no fear, but their hearts beat fast. This was humanity's first meeting with aliens who could actually talk back. "Remember, stay calm and follow the plan," June whispered to his team. "We represent all of Earth today." The starship Prometheus had been traveling for 3 months since the Nalrans had sent their message. Humans had searched the stars for other intelligent life for over a century. Now in the year 2187, first contact was no longer just a dream. The aliens entered from the opposite door. The humans tried not to stare, but it was hard not to. The Nalrans walked on 2 legs like humans, but that's where the similarities ended. They stood about 7 feet tall with smooth, pale blue skin that seemed to shimmer under the lights. Their forearms moved with grace, and their large, multifaceted eyes reflected the room like living mirrors. Ambassador Tarak, the lead Nalran, stepped forward. A small device on their chest glowed as they spoke, translating their clicks and whistles into English. "Captain Kim of Earth, we welcome you to Deep Space Station 5, Tarak said. "This meeting marks a historic day for both our species." June bowed slightly. "The people of Earth thank you for this invitation. We hope this is the beginning of a long friendship between our worlds." The first hour went well. Both sides shared basic information about their home planets, governments, and history. The Nalran seemed most interested in Earth's ecosystem and the many animals that lived alongside humans. "Your planet has an unusually high number of predator species that survived into your age of technology," said Tarak, studying the images of Earth wildlife on the large screen. "Most developing worlds see their large predators die out as civilization spreads." Lieutenant Hannah Park, the team's biologist, nodded. "We've worked hard in the last century to protect endangered species. Many predators were almost lost before we understood their importance to Earth's balance." The meeting continued smoothly until they reached the section on domestic animals. The screen showed common Earth pets: dogs, birds, fish, and then cats. Hannah's body tensed slightly at the image of an orange cat. The reaction was small, but the Nalrans missed nothing. "Does this creature cause you distress, Lieutenant Park?" asked a Nalran scientist named Meklo. Hannah smiled awkwardly. "No, not distress exactly. I was attacked by a cat as a child. Many humans have a natural caution around cats, even though they're one of our most common pets." The room filled with an odd clicking sound. It took the humans a moment to realize the Nalrans were laughing. "You fear these tiny creatures?" Tarak asked, mandibles clicking rapidly. "Our scans show they weigh less than 10 of your Earth kilograms. They have no venom, no significant armor, and limited pack behaviors." June stepped in smoothly. "It's not exactly fear. Cats were once wild hunters, and some humans still carry an instinctive caution around them. They're actually very popular pets." But the Nalrans couldn't move past this new information. They began talking among themselves in their own language. Their translator devices switched off. "What's happening?" whispered Commander Tae-Soo, the security officer. "I think we've confused them," June replied quietly. Tarak turned back to the humans. "Please excuse our reaction. We find it fascinating that your species reached the stars while still carrying primitive fears of small predators. Our ancestors domesticated creatures 3 times the size of your bears over 50,000 years ago." Hannah's cheeks flushed. "Cats are actually quite dangerous in their way. They're perfect hunters, quiet, fast, and smart. Before they were pets, they were killing machines." This only made the clicking laughter grow louder. "Your Earth sayings make sense now," said Meklo the scientist. "Scaredy cat and afraid of your own shadow. Your species projects its own fears onto these harmless little hunters." June could see Hannah's embarrassment turning to anger. This first meeting was going off track fast. "Perhaps we could move on to discuss potential trade opportunities," June suggested smoothly. "Earth has many resources that might interest the Nalran people, but the aliens were too amused to let it go. Does your military also fear these cats?" asked a Nalran wearing what appeared to be a military uniform. Do you have special defenses against them? Commander Tae-Su frowned. We don't fear them, but a wise person respects any predator, no matter its size. Ambassador Terok made a gesture that the translation software didn't understand. Perhaps we overestimated humanity's evolutionary development. No advanced species should carry such primitive fears. The meeting room grew tense. June could see his crew members straightening their backs, offended by the alien's mockery. This wasn't how first contact was supposed to go. Ambassador Terok, June said firmly. On Earth we have a saying, different worlds, different ways. Our evolutionary paths have been very different. There may be things your species fears that we would find equally puzzling. Terok's head tilted, in what might have been acceptance. A diplomatic answer, Captain. But facts remain facts. Any species that fears a small, furry predator that it has already domesticated shows signs of irrational thinking. This raises questions about humanity's readiness for advanced galactic knowledge. Dr. Jin Ho, the team's anthropologist, spoke up for the first time. Ambassador, human fear of cats isn't universal but is found in many cultures across Earth. This suggests it may have evolutionary roots rather than being irrational. Our ancestors competed with feline predators for millions of years. Then your ancestors were weak, said the Nalran military officer bluntly. Our civilization arose by dominating all other species on our world. We have no such leftover fears. June could see this conversation was damaging humanity's standing with these new aliens. He needed to change course. Ambassador Terok, perhaps we could arrange a cultural exchange program? Your scientists could study Earth species directly, and we could learn about life on your world. Understanding often replaces judgment. The suggestion seemed to interest the Nalrans. They spoke among themselves again, their clicking language incomprehensible to the humans. Finally, Terok turned back. Your suggestion has merit, Captain Kim. We would welcome Earth scientists and specimens of your world's life forms, including these terrifying cats, to visit our homeworld for study. The meeting ended with plans for future exchanges, but the damage was done. As the humans walked back to their ship, the sound of alien laughter seemed to follow them. That could have gone better, Hana said, still embarrassed. June shook his head. Don't worry about it. They're just different. They evolved without the predators we faced. But did you see how they looked at us? Asked Tae-Su. Like we were children afraid of the dark. Let them think what they want, June replied. Sometimes fear exists for good reasons. Our ancestors didn't survive for millions of years by ignoring their instincts. As the Prometheus prepared to depart, June looked out at the alien station. He couldn't explain why, but something about the Nalran's complete lack of caution bothered him deeply. Every human knew that the most dangerous thing about cats wasn't their claws or teeth. It was their patience, intelligence, and perfect adaptation to hunting. The Nalrans had never learned that lesson. June wondered if someday they might regret their laughter. Dr. Dae-Sung Lee rubbed his tired eyes and stared at the screen again. For 3 months he had been studying the biological data from the Nalran homeworld, and something wasn't adding up. As the lead xenobiologist on the Earth Nalran Scientific Committee, it was his job to understand the alien ecosystem. But this particular finding seemed too important and too troubling to ignore. Computer, show me the predator evolution chart again, he said. The large screen on his lab wall lit up with a comparison between Earth and Nalran evolutionary trees. The difference was striking. Earth's history showed dozens of branches of successful small predators, cats being one of the most successful, while the Nalran world had only large pack hunters, similar to wolves or hyenas, but nothing like cats. No ambush predators, Dae-Sung mumbled to himself. Not a single evolutionary line. He picked up his coffee mug, found it empty, and sighed. It was nearly midnight at the New Seoul Research Center, but this discovery couldn't wait. He tapped his communication band. Professor Han, are you still awake? After a moment, the sleepy voice of his colleague answered, I am now, Dae-Sung. This better be important. I think I've found why the Nalrans laughed at our cat fears. Their world never evolved anything like cats, not once in their entire planetary history. There was a pause. That's unusual. All Earth-like planets we've studied have some form of ambush predator. Exactly. And it explains a lot about their psychology and their reaction to us. They evolved with only one kind of predator threat: large, noisy hunters that come at you head-on. Professor Han's voice grew more alert. So they never developed the instinct to fear something small and quiet that might be hiding, watching, waiting to pounce. Precisely, Dae-sung said, feeling a chill. They have a massive blind spot in their threat assessment capabilities, too. Weeks later, Dae-sung stood nervously before the combined Human-Nalran Scientific Committee. The meeting room was divided, with humans on one side and Nalrans on the other. Ambassador Terok sat at the center, flanked by Nalran scientists. Captain Jun Kim gave Dae-sung an encouraging nod from his seat. The captain had returned to Earth after the first contact mission, but remained deeply involved in human-Nalran relations. Dr. Lee, you requested this special session, Ambassador Terok said. Please proceed with your findings. Dae-sung cleared his throat. Thank you, Ambassador. Over the past 3 months, I've been conducting a comparative study of predator evolution between our worlds. My findings suggest a significant evolutionary difference that may affect how our species perceive threats. He displayed the charts on the room's main screen. As you can see, Earth evolved many types of predators, including what we call ambush predators, like cats. These are small to medium-sized hunters that hide, stalk, and attack suddenly without warning. The Nalran. Scientists studied the charts with their large, reflective eyes. Your world, Dae-sung continued, developed only pack hunters, large predators that hunt in groups using strength and stamina. You never evolved anything like our cats. Ambassador Terok clicked lightly. And this is significant how, Dr. Lee? It suggests your species lacks certain survival instincts that humans developed over millions of years. You evolved without the selective pressure of small ambush predators. This could represent a significant blind spot in how your species assesses threats. The room fell silent for a moment before a wave of clicking laughter erupted from the Nalran side. A Nalran scientist named Zovix spoke up. Dr. Lee, are you suggesting that your primitive fears are actually advanced evolutionary traits? This sounds like an attempt to save face after we discovered your species' irrational fear of small animals. Dae-sung felt his face grow warm, but he kept his voice steady. I'm merely pointing out that different evolutionary pressures create different instincts. Humans fear cats for good reason. Our ancestors competed with feline predators for millions of years. And yet you keep these predators in your homes, Zovix countered. You let them sleep near your children. If they are truly dangerous, this behavior makes no sense. Captain Kim joined the conversation. We domesticated cats because their hunting skills were useful to us. They kept disease-carrying rodents away from our food. But the instinctive caution remains in many humans because evolution works slowly. Ambassador Terok made a dismissive gesture with one of their 4 arms. This seems like human defensiveness about what we previously discussed. Your species is embarrassed by its primitive fears and is trying to frame them as evolutionary advantages. Dae-sung tried again. Ambassador, I'm simply suggesting that if we're to work together effectively, we should understand our different evolutionary psychologies. What seems irrational to you may be deeply rooted in our evolutionary history, and vice versa. The Nalran military representative, Commander Vex, leaned forward. Perhaps there is a simple way to settle this debate. You claim these cats triggered evolutionary caution because they were effective predators. We find this hard to believe based on their size and apparent harmlessness. The commander looked around the room. Our scientific community is very interested in studying Earth species. Why not include these cats in the cultural exchange program? If they are truly as you describe them, our scientists can document their predatory abilities. Dae-sung felt a sudden unease. I'm not sure that would be wise without extensive preparation. Introducing any Earth species to your ecosystem requires careful study of potential impacts. Are you worried your little predators might hurt someone? Commander Vex asked. triggering more clicking laughter. Captain Kim shot Daesung a warning. Look, this was becoming a diplomatic issue now. Ambassador Tarok raised a hand for quiet. The commander's suggestion has merit. Our scientists are very interested in these cats that somehow evolved to trigger fear in a spacefaring species. We formally request that Earth include domestic cats in the upcoming exchange program. Daesung opened his mouth to object again, but Captain Kim cut in smoothly. Ambassador, we would be happy to include domestic cats in the exchange, provided we follow standard quarantine and containment protocols. Perhaps we could start with a small number, say 10 individuals, properly monitored by both human and Nalran scientists. Daesung couldn't believe what he was hearing. Did no one else see the potential danger here? Excellent, Ambassador Tarok said. We look forward to studying these creatures that have so profoundly shaped human psychology. Perhaps understanding them will help us better understand humanity's other, unusual traits. After the meeting, Daesung cornered Captain Kim in the hallway. Captain, with all due respect, this is a mistake. We don't know how cats might adapt to the Nalran environment. And the Nalrans have no evolutionary experience with ambush predators. They won't know how to properly contain them. Captain Kim sighed. Dr. Lee, I understand your concerns, but this has become a matter of interspecies pride. The Nalrans already think we're primitive for our irrational fears. If we refuse to send cats now, it will damage our standing with them. So we risk ecological disaster for diplomatic points? Daesung asked incredulously. 10 domestic cats under strict monitoring is hardly an ecological disaster, Doctor. And this is a direct request from the first alien civilization we've contacted. The Earth government wants this alliance to succeed. Daesung shook his head. The Nalrans don't understand what they're asking for. They have no concept of what cats are capable of because nothing like them has ever existed on their world. Captain Kim put a hand on Daesung's shoulder. They're domesticated house cats. Doctor, not tigers. They'll be confined to research facilities and carefully monitored. What's the worst that could happen? As Captain Kim walked away, Daesung couldn't shake the feeling that they were all making a terrible mistake. Something about this situation felt deeply wrong, like they were missing something obvious and dangerous. He returned to his lab and stared again at the evolutionary charts. The complete absence of small ambush predators on the Nalran world wasn't just unusual. It was unprecedented. In Earth's evolutionary history, when a niche existed, life found a way to fill it. The Nalran world had a perfect niche for something, like a cat. So why had nothing evolved to fill it? Perhaps, Daesung thought with a chill, the niche had been filled before, and whatever filled it had been so successful, so devastating, that it didn't just dominate its evolutionary branch. It had erased it completely. Dr. Ji Woo-song had never wanted to visit an alien planet. She was perfectly happy studying animals in her lab back on Earth. But when the Earth government needed a cat expert for the Nalran exchange program, her name was at the top of the list. Now, 6 months into her stay on the Nalran homeworld, she sat in her small office at the Earth Embassy, typing another report that she knew would be ignored. Day 183, she dictated to her computer. The cats continue to show unusual behavioral adaptations. Subject 7, Whiskers, has now gained access to 3 different secure facilities this month alone. The Nalran security staff find this amusing rather than concerning. Ji-woo sighed and rubbed her temples. The 10 cats they had brought to this world were nothing like the calm pets they had been on Earth. Something about the Nalran environment was changing them. A knock at her door interrupted her thoughts. Her assistant, Minho, entered with a worried look on his face. Dr. Song, it happened. Again. Whiskers was found in the Planetary Defense Headquarters. The security guards were petting him when I arrived to bring him back. Ji-woo groaned. That's the 3rd time this week. Did you explain to them that the cats should not be allowed into secure areas? Minho nodded. They just laughed. One of them said, and I quote, "The tiny predator seems to enjoy watching our security monitors. Perhaps it dreams of being a guard. They still don't get it, do they?" Ji-woo stood up and walked to the window. Outside, the alien landscape stretched beneath. a purple-tinted sky. The Nalran capital city was beautiful, with tall, spiral buildings and wide green spaces. The cats aren't just wandering randomly. They're exploring systematically, learning the layout, testing boundaries. There's something else, Minho said, hesitantly. I've been tracking the breeding program. The latest numbers just came in. Jiwoo turned back to him. And the birth rate has quadrupled compared to Earth norms. The second-generation cats are already larger than their parents, and the third generation shows even more growth. Some of them are now the size of small dogs. Jiwoo felt a chill run down her spine. She walked to the wall where she had pinned a timeline of events. Red marks indicated concerning developments, and there were many of them. It's the perfect environment for them, she said quietly. No natural predators, abundant small prey animals, higher oxygen levels than Earth, and a dominant species that has no instinctive fear or understanding of what cats are. Should we recall them? Minho asked. We still have 7 of the original 10. The others escaped but are still in the research zone. Jiwoo laughed without humor. Recall them? Minho, there are over 300 cats now, spread across a 50-mile radius, and those are just the ones we know about. She typed a command into her computer, and a map appeared on the wall screen. Red dots showed confirmed cat sightings across the Nalran capital region. Look at the pattern, she said. They're expanding outward in all directions, establishing territories, but they're also maintaining a presence in key areas: food distribution centers, power plants, transportation hubs. Minho studied the map with growing concern. It almost looks strategic, because it is. Jiwoo pulled up another file. I've been comparing their behavior to historical records of feral cat colonies on Earth. This is different. They're cooperating in ways domestic cats rarely do, and they're focusing on infrastructure in a way that seems deliberate. That's impossible, Minho said. Cats can't understand human infrastructure, let alone alien infrastructure. Maybe not in detail, but they can observe patterns. They can see what areas the Nalrans consider important based on security and activity. Jiwoo pointed to the screen. And remember, these aren't just any cats anymore. They're evolving, adapting. Each generation is showing changes. Jiwoo sat back, down at her desk, and began typing. I'm submitting another report to both Earth Command and the Nalran High Council. Potential ecological concerns regarding terrestrial felines on Nalran Prime. Maybe this time they'll listen. Chief Security Officer Velex of the Nalran Defense. Force did not appreciate having his afternoon interrupted, especially by a human scientist he considered overly dramatic. But diplomatic protocol required that he at least pretend to listen to Dr. Song's concerns. Dr. Song, I've reviewed your previous 5 reports on this matter, Velex said, his translator converting his clicks and whistles into smooth English. Your concerns seem to be growing more imaginative with each submission. Jiwoo sat stiffly in the chair across from Velex's desk. The chair was designed for Nalrans, making it uncomfortable for human anatomy. Chief Velex, the data speaks for itself. The cat population is growing at an alarming rate. They're getting larger with each generation, and their behavior is becoming increasingly coordinated. Velex's 4 arms moved in what Jiwoo had learned was a gesture of dismissal. Dr. Song, your species' strange fixation on these small creatures is becoming a concern to our psychological experts. These cats posed for our security images and allowed our officers to pet them. Is this the behavior of dangerous predators? That's exactly what makes them dangerous, Jiwoo insisted. They're intelligent enough to appear harmless. On Earth, cats spent thousands of years evolving alongside humans, learning how to manipulate us for food and shelter. And now you suggest they are manipulating us? Velex's mandibles clicked in what Jiwoo recognized as laughter. Perhaps we should add them to our intelligence service. Jiwoo tried a different approach. Your world has never had small ambush predators. Your species evolved without them. That's why you can't see the warning signs. Warning signs of what? Exactly? Your data shows they eat small pest animals and sleep in warm places. If anything, they're providing a service by controlling the rodent population in our agricultural zones. That's how it starts, Jiwoo said. They establish themselves in an ecosystem by being useful. But they're apex predators, Chief Velix. On Earth, we kept their numbers controlled. Here, nothing is controlling their population or their evolution. Velix leaned forward. Dr. Song, let me be direct. Your Earth government sent these creatures as part of our cultural exchange. Now you claim they are a threat. Some in our government see this as a deliberate attempt to cause discord after your species was embarrassed by our reaction to your irrational fears. This has nothing to do with embarrassment, Jiwoo said, trying to keep her voice even. This is about preventing a potential ecological disaster. A disaster caused by 10 small pets? Velix stood up, signaling the end of the meeting. Your report will be filed, Doctor. But unless you can provide actual evidence of harm, not theoretical concerns based on human psychological biases, this matter will remain low priority. As Jiwoo left the security headquarters, she noticed an orange tabby, Whiskers, sitting calmly in the lobby, watching her with unblinking yellow eyes. A Nalran security officer was stroking its back, completely unaware that the cat's attention was focused entirely on the human. Jiwoo shivered. Whiskers had gotten larger since she'd last seen him, and his coat pattern seemed more vivid, more striking. The cat blinked slowly at her, then yawned, showing teeth that seemed longer and sharper than she remembered. Back on Earth, Captain June Kim received Jiwoo's unofficial message in his private quarters. The transmission had come through personal channels rather than official ones, bypassing the normal diplomatic protocols. Captain Kim, I don't know who else to turn to. Jiwoo's recorded message played. My reports are being ignored. The situation here is worse than we thought. The cats are changing, adapting to this world faster than should be possible. Something about this planet is accelerating their evolution. June watched as Jiwoo's tired face showed genuine fear. They're getting bigger, smarter, more coordinated, and the Nalran still think it's all a joke. Humans being afraid of harmless little pets. They don't understand what's happening right in front of them because they have no evolutionary framework for this kind of threat. She lowered her voice. The original 10 cats have now produced over 300 offspring, and we're seeing distinct changes in just 3 generations. At this rate, she paused. Captain, I'm requesting an immediate extraction of all human personnel and a quarantine of this planet until we can assess the full impact of what we've done. The message ended, leaving June staring at a blank screen. He sat quietly for a long moment, thinking about his first meeting with the Nalrans, about their laughter when they discovered humanity's wariness of cats. Something deep in his human instincts, something old and primal, told him that Jiwoo was right. They had made a terrible mistake. He reached for his communication console. Connect me to Earth Central Command. Priority 1. 1 year after cats were first introduced to Nalran Prime, the unthinkable happened. Dr. Jiwoo Song woke to the sound of alarms. Red lights flashed across her small room in the Earth Embassy. She jumped out of bed and grabbed her data pad. The screen showed multiple emergency alerts from across the Nalran capital city. What's happening? She asked as she ran into the embassy's control room. The human staff looked panicked. Communications Officer Lee pointed to the main screen. Attacks. Happening all over the city. 12 major population centers hit at the same time. Jiwoo stared at the screen in horror. Live feeds showed chaos in the streets. Nalrans were running, some falling, others helping the injured. But the attackers were hard to see clearly. Is it the cats? She asked, already knowing the answer. Yes, said Ambassador Park, his face grim. But not like we remember. Them, look. He zoomed in on one of the video feeds. Jiwoo gasped. The creature on the screen looked like a cat, but much larger, the size of a mountain lion. Its coat was a vivid orange with sharp black stripes, and its teeth were longer than any Earth cat's had been. It moved with the same silent grace as a house cat, but its muscles were thicker, its jumps more powerful. 10th generation, Jiwoo whispered. They've evolved even faster than I predicted. There are thousands of them, Ambassador Park said. Maybe tens of thousands. They've been breeding unchecked for a year, hiding in the wilderness around the cities. Now they're attacking everywhere at once. The Nalran military, Jiwoo began, is not prepared for this kind of threat. cut in Security Chief Minho, who had been monitoring Nalran defense channels. Their military is designed to fight other advanced species or large predators. They have no tactics for dealing with small, fast ambush predators. Jiwoo felt sick. This was exactly what she had feared, exactly what she had warned them about. We need to contact Earth, tell them what's happening. Ambassador Park shook his head. Communications are down. The main satellite relay station was one of the first places hit. That's not random, Jiwoo said. The cats are targeting infrastructure. They've been studying this city for a year, learning its weak points. A loud bang made everyone jump. Security personnel ran to the embassy windows. They're at the gates, someone shouted. Hundreds of them. Ambassador Park made a quick decision. Everyone to the emergency bunker now. Bring all data and communications equipment you can carry. As they rushed through the embassy, Jiwoo grabbed her research files. This was all her fault. She should have pushed harder, should have made the Nalrans understand the threat. But how could she explain cat psychology to a species that had never evolved alongside small predators? The embassy staff, 23 humans in all, made it to the underground bunker just as the cats breached the main building. The heavy doors sealed behind them with a final thud. The bunker is designed to withstand attacks and natural disasters, Ambassador Park explained as the lights flickered on. We have food, water, and air for 3 months. Earth will send help long before then. Jiwoo wasn't so sure. If communications are down, how will Earth know we need help? Standard protocol, Chief Minho said. If the Nalran capital goes dark, for 24 hours Earth will send a rescue team to investigate. Jiwoo nodded, but her mind was racing. If the cats had taken out communications first, they might have plans for the rescue team too. These weren't normal cats anymore. They were something new. Something that had evolved with frightening speed to fill the empty predator niche on this world. Over the next 3 days, the humans in the bunker pieced together what was happening outside through emergency broadcasts and the embassy's few remaining security feeds. The picture was grim. The Nalran military had been caught completely unprepared. Their weapons and tactics were designed for frontal assaults from large enemies, not small, silent predators that could hide anywhere. The cats were attacking in coordinated groups targeting power plants, food storage, and communication centers. Look at this, Jiwoo said on the 4th day, pointing to footage from a security camera near the city's main power plant. A group of 15 cats, all larger than Earth mountain lions now, moved in perfect formation, taking different paths but arriving at key entry points simultaneously. That's not just instinct, Minho said, watching in horror. That's strategy. Ambassador Park looked pale. How is this possible? Cats are solitary hunters, they don't coordinate like this. These aren't Earth cats anymore, Jiwoo explained. They've evolved. This world has higher oxygen levels than Earth, more abundant prey, and no natural predators to control their population. Each generation has grown larger and apparently smarter. On the 6th day, the city's main power grid failed. The embassy bunker switched to backup power, but the security feeds went dark. They were now completely cut off from the outside world. What about the Nalrans? Young technician Sora asked. There are billions of them. Surely they can fight back against the cats no matter how big they've grown. Jiwoo shook her head. It's not about size or numbers. The Nalrans have no instinctual defense against ambush predators. Their entire evolutionary history prepared them for threats that come head-on, not threats that hide and strike from shadows. Like humans facing an entirely new type of predator, Ambassador Park said quietly. Something we never evolved to, fear. Exactly, Jiwoo agreed. But worse, at least humans have some experience with ambush predators. The Nalrans have none. Their buildings have no defenses against small infiltrators. Their security systems are designed to detect large threats. Their psychology can't process the idea of a hidden danger that waits and watches. On the 10th day, they picked up a faint transmission from a Nalran emergency bunker across the city. Chief Velix's voice was barely recognizable through the static. Complete. Collapse of central authority. City sectors 7 through 12 overrun. Strange behavior from the Earth predators. They appear to be systematically dismantling our infrastructure. Some show signs of tool use, taking our equipment. The transmission cut off abruptly. The room fell silent. Tool use? Minho whispered. That's not possible. Jiwoo closed her eyes. In her mind, she saw Whiskers sitting calmly in the security headquarters, watching the monitors, learning. Cats on Earth were intelligent, capable of solving complex problems. What might they become in an environment that supercharged their evolution, where nothing kept them in check? We did this, she said quietly. We introduced a perfect predator to a world that had never known anything like it. A predator that could adapt, learn, and evolve faster than anyone thought possible. Ambassador Park put a hand on her shoulder. No one could have predicted this. Not even you. Dr. Lee predicted it, Jiwoo said bitterly. He saw the danger, from the beginning. But no one listened because the Nalrans thought our fear of cats was irrational. On the 14th day, the bunker's sensors detected a ship entering the planet's atmosphere. The humans gathered around the communications console, hope rising for the first time in 2 weeks. Earth Rescue Fleet to any human survivors. Do you copy? The voice coming through the speakers was the most beautiful thing Jiwoo had ever heard. Ambassador Park grabbed the microphone. This is Ambassador Park at the Earth Embassy. We read you. We have 16 survivors in the embassy bunker. Stand by for extraction. We're sending a team to your location. As relief washed over the room, Jiwoo looked at the last image they had captured before the security feeds went dark. A large orange cat, almost certainly Whiskers, now the size of a tiger, sat on the steps of the Nalran government building, surrounded by dozens of others. Their posture wasn't random. They sat in a pattern, a formation that suggested organization and purpose. The cats weren't just taking over this world, Jiwoo realized. They were claiming it as their own, and they had done it in just 1 year. Tipiram. Nalrans had laughed at humanity's ancient fear of cats. They had called it primitive, irrational. But as the rescue ship descended toward the embassy, Jiwoo wondered who was really primitive. The species that feared small predators or the one that didn't know enough to fear them at all. Admiral June Kim stood on the bridge of the Earth rescue ship Prometheus, watching the blue-green planet of Nalran Prime grow larger on the view screen. 3 weeks had passed since they lost contact with the Nalran government and the Earth Embassy. What they might find below filled him with dread. Admiral, we're picking up scattered emergency signals from the surface, reported Communications Officer Han. Most are automated distress beacons, no response to our hails. June nodded grimly. When Earth Central Command had promoted him from captain to admiral for this rescue mission, he had hoped the situation wasn't as bad as they feared. Now he knew better. Launch the scout drones, he ordered. I want eyes on the major cities before we send in rescue teams. As the drones descended toward the planet, June thought back to his first meeting with the Nalrans. He remembered their laughter when they discovered humanity's wariness of cats. He remembered how they had mocked what they called our primitive fears. The memory filled him with regret and anger, mostly at himself. He should have listened to Dr. Lee's warnings. Admiral, drone footage coming in now, said the sensor officer. The bridge fell silent as images appeared on the main screen. On the Nalran capital city, once a beautiful collection of tall spiral buildings and wide green spaces, lay in ruins. Power systems were dark. Streets were empty of Nalrans but showed signs of recent fighting. Broken barriers, abandoned vehicles, weapons, lying useless on the ground, and cats. Everywhere cats. Not the small domestic cats they had brought from Earth, but large, powerful predators that moved with familiar feline grace. Some were the size of lions, others smaller but still much larger than house cats. They patrolled the streets in groups, moving with clear purpose and coordination. My God, whispered someone on the bridge. How many are there? June asked. The sensor officer checked her readings. Thousands in the capital alone, sir. The drones are detecting similar patterns in all major population centers. And the Nalrans? Life signs detected in scattered locations, mostly underground bunkers and sealed buildings, but they're greatly outnumbered by the feline life forms. June made a quick decision. Focus our rescue efforts on the Earth Embassy first. Then we'll attempt to reach any Nalran survivors we can locate. 3 hours later, the rescue shuttles returned with 16 human survivors from the embassy bunker. Dr. Jiwoo Song was among them, exhausted but alive. June met her in the ship's medical bay. "Dr. Song," he said, "I'm relieved to see you alive." Jiwoo looked up at him with tired eyes. "Admiral Kim, you got my message." "We did, but by then it was already too late." He sat down beside her bed. "I need to understand what happened down there. How did it happen so fast?" Jiwoo sat up straighter. "It was the perfect storm, Admiral. The cats found themselves in an environment with no natural predators, abundant prey, and higher oxygen levels than Earth. Each generation grew larger, stronger, and smarter. But this level of coordination, the footage we're seeing suggests almost military-level strategy." Jiwoo nodded. "That was the most unexpected development. On Earth, most cats are solitary hunters, but here, with no competition and abundant resources, they developed pack behaviors. They watched the Nalrans, learned from them." She picked up a datapad and showed him images she had recorded. By the 4th generation, they were already showing signs of unusual cooperation. By the 10th generation, just 1 year after introduction, they were working together to target key infrastructure, and they kept growing. June studied the images with horror. How could they evolve so quickly? Something in the Nalran environment accelerated their adaptation. Their generation time shortened to just 30 days. With each new generation, they became more adapted to this world. Jiwoo's voice grew quieter. And the Nalrans had no defense against them. Nothing in their evolutionary history prepared them for ambush predators. "So what happens now?" June asked. "Can the planet be reclaimed?" Jiwoo shook her head slowly. "I don't think so, Admiral. Not without destroying the entire ecosystem. The cats have filled an empty ecological niche. They've become what this world never had, the perfect small predator." 2 days later, Admiral Kim addressed the United Earth Council via quantum transmission from the Prometheus. The council members, representatives, from all Earth nations, listened in shocked silence as he reported what they had found on Nalran Prime. "We have rescued all human personnel from the planet's surface," June reported. "We have also managed to extract 213 Nalran survivors from various bunkers and secure facilities, but these represent a tiny fraction of their population." "And the rest?" asked the council president. June's expression was grim. "The evidence suggests catastrophic losses. The Nalran civilization has effectively collapsed. Their communication networks, power systems, and transportation infrastructure have been systematically disabled." "By cats?" One council member sounded incredulous. "Ordinary house cats?" "Not ordinary anymore," June clarified. "Dr. Song has documented their rapid evolution on Nalran Prime." He displayed Dr. Song's data on the council screens. The creatures now dominating the planet are physically similar to Earth cats but much larger, and showing unprecedented levels of pack coordination. "Could this have been predicted?" asked another council member. June took a deep breath. "Yes. Dr. Dae-Sung Lee warned us from the beginning. He identified that the Nalrans had evolved without exposure to small ambush predators, creating a vulnerability in their defenses and psychology. His warnings were not taken seriously, by us or by the Nalrans." The council president leaned forward, "because they laughed at our fear of cats." "Yes, Madam President. They considered humanity's evolutionary caution around cats to be primitive and irrational. They could not understand a threat they had never encountered in their evolutionary history." The room fell silent as the implication sank in. "Admiral Kim," said the president finally, "what actions do you recommend?" "The Nalran survivors have requested asylum on Earth. I recommend we grant it immediately on humanitarian grounds. As for Nalran Prime," he paused, "I recommend a full quarantine. No ships in or out without special clearance. The planet should be classified as a level 5 biological hazard." "That severe?" someone asked. Dr. Ji Woo-song, who had been sitting quietly beside Admiral Kim, spoke up. Council members, before we evacuated, our last drone footage showed something disturbing. The newest generation of cats, what would be the 12th or 13th generation, were observed manipulating Nalran technology. She displayed the final images captured by embassy drones. The council gasped collectively at the sight of large, tiger-sized cats using their paws to operate Nalran equipment. Some appeared to be examining weapons. They're not just adapting physically, Ji-woo explained. They're learning, evolving intellectually. Given enough time, they may develop their own form of civilization, one built on perfect predatory instincts. 1 month later, Admiral Kim stood with Dr. Ji Woo-song and Dr. Dae-sung Lee at the opening of the new Evolutionary Psychology Defense Initiative headquarters in New Seoul. The facility was dedicated to studying humanity's instinctual fears as potential warnings about genuine threats. The Nalrans laughed at our fear of cats, Admiral Kim said in his dedication speech to the assembled scientists and military personnel. That laughter cost them their civilization. Humanity's seemingly irrational fears, the ones coded into our DNA after millions of years of evolution, exist for a reason. After the ceremony, the 3 colleagues stood looking at a large screen showing recent satellite images of Nalran Prime. The cats had continued to thrive, spreading across the planet's surface. Some were now using simple tools made from Nalran technology. Could it happen on Earth? June asked quietly. Could our cats ever become like them? Dr. Lee shook his head. No. On Earth, cats evolved alongside us. We shaped each other. We understand each other. And most importantly, we know to be cautious around them. Dr. Song nodded in agreement. Human instincts recognized cats as predators worthy of respect. The Nalrans had no such instinct. They thought our caution was foolish. But it was actually ancient wisdom. As they walked away, a small house cat watched them from a nearby windowsill, eyes half closed, tail swishing slowly back and forth. All 3 humans gave it a respectful distance, not out of irrational fear, but out of the deep evolutionary wisdom that had kept humanity alive for countless generations. Sometimes fear exists for very good reasons, and sometimes those who laugh at others' fears are the ones who should be most afraid of all.